crunch troubleshoot week for No Tummy Tuesday. So this week's No Tummy Tuesday, we're going to talk about crunches. This is for my Body Combat friends. We are loving the ab track for Body Combat 82, but there's a lot of crunches. Just a couple hundred. So you've probably heard me say by now, I am not a giant fan of crunches. And here's why. Crunches, right here, forward flexion, right? Crunches mainly are working your rectus abdominis. That's your six-pack. Those muscle fibers run vertically. They're responsible for forward flexion, and as these muscle fibers grow, they grow out, which is really not what I'm looking for with my abs. I'm not looking for them to get bigger and look bigger out. So I like to pick ab exercises that work my transverse abdominis. So you can think of your transverse abdominis as a giant horizontal muscle that wraps your core like a corset. And as that muscle gets stronger, it holds everything in, just like a corset. So that's what I'm looking for. I prefer exercises that will target my transverse abdominis without hugely targeting my rectus. My rectus abdominis is already strong enough. So beyond all of that, crunches can cause some problems just with their mechanics. If your upper abs are really strong, stronger than your lower abs, then when you go to crunch down, the strength of your upper abdominals is going to put a lot of pressure down onto your pelvic floor. Or if the pressure doesn't go down, a lot of times you'll crunch down and the pressure will go out into the center of your abdomen across your linea alba, making your diastasis worse or possibly causing an abdominal hernia. So what does all this look like, and how can you make crunches work a little bit better for you? So we're going to come down to the floor. Big thing with crunches is you need to look at your abdominals and see what they are doing as you're doing the crunch. That's going to make a big difference. So set yourself up. You want your pelvis neutral. So we're not really arched. There is not a big gap here, but we're also not tucked under with our tailbone off the floor. So hips just in neutral, ribs down, and you do your crunch. As you crunch, what is your abdomen doing? Is it flattening? Do you feel a connection from hip to hip? Do you feel a connection from your rib to your hip? This should be one nice flat line. Frequently what happens though is you don't get a flat line. What you get is bulging up at the top, or you get a ridge. So you get this ridge here, which is the edge of my rectus, and that's just showing me that my rectus is doing the crunch primarily and my transverse abdominis is turned off. So that's not what you're looking for. What you can do as you crunch to prevent that a little bit is you can do a little Kegel on each lift up, and that should help turn on your transverse abdominis. So when we do the crunch for the ab track, we're coming up to the middle, we're crossing to either side, and you're just looking at your abs and watching to see that they stay nice and flat, like almost a little bit hollow right through the center. So that little exhale on each small lift will help bring your lower abs on board. Then we get to the more challenging part, which is the cross crawl. When you come up for the cross crawl, you've got your legs coming up too. So this is where you're likely to see that bulge up in the center or in the very center, meaning your rectus is really going to try and take over. And this may just be too much. Here you're going to cross and cross. And ideally, you want everything to stay flat across the center. If it's just too much, instead of extending all the way out, you can just tap, right? Because you've got a smaller lever now, So that's going to make it a little easier. Or if it's still just too much, bring your feet to the floor and just cross. And there you go. So with the crunches and the cross crawl, the two things you're going to do is you're going to look at your abs and see what they're doing. And if there's a problem, you're going to modify how you're doing the crunch or the cross crawl. So you might want to check this out. Check this out before the next class. See what your abs are doing so you can be all ready to go. Have a great week, guys.